Hello, welcome to Board Game Bonkers. I'm Jay Sears, and today we're going to talk about my top 6 classic board games I still own, and well, we still play them, and why. Now, before we get into this list, which I've put in a specific order, starting from at least to my most favourite. Now, do check out the description down below because I do write articles on Medium within the board game industry, and I cover a lot of different areas with both educational and scientific links, as well as top 10s, top 6s and better than articles. So check that out. Sometimes I create my videos around those as well, so you want to know what's coming out in perhaps the future, then check that out in the description down below. And please also consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive into this list, starting with my number 6, and that is Small World. So in Small World, this is an area control game. You have this different factions you'll be able to, they're not called factions, but we'll stick with that. So you get your faction, they've got these ability banners that are attached to the factions, which will vary during the setup. You have 6 in a row. You're choosing one of them. You'll be starting with some coins, which essentially is your victory points, and you gather your factions. What you'll be doing is place them out on the board, starting from the edge, and you're trying to conquer this small world in the different regions. Once you conquer a region, that'll give you points, which is coins essentially. So when you do combat, it's very simplistic and deterministic. So you'll be placing any 2 or more tokens that you've got, so the chits that you've got, you'll be placing them into that region, and therefore you've conquered it. And what will happen if it's an opponent, they will take their faction pieces back, and they will take and place one into the box because they've lost one in that battle, but they get the rest to place into their hand. And what will happen once you've allocated your different troops? For example, you might have placed 2 in one region, it might be 3, so you always need at least 2 to go into a region more than what's already there. There are mountains as well that act as a defense, so that means you need an additional one to be able to take that region over. Really simplistic, but they give you different abilities as well, your faction. So you'll be able to look at that and you'll be able to say, right, okay, this attaches to this, which gives me this cool ability. It might give you more points, for example. You have different types of factions. You have dwarves, you have humans, which are a little bit boring. You have the wizards, and they give you different types of abilities. You have some that fly, some that are really good in water, and you can't generally go in the water. There's only one type, the seafarers, and you've got wizards. Then you've got different ones that use these tunnels to go from one place to another. So give you different types of abilities. I really like how simplistic. I like how this changes as well, because what comes out in the factions and that little banner attaches, I forgot what it's called, but it's just attaches to the faction, and then that will vary from game to game. And what comes out in the future, and what's really cool as well, if you want a particular one, because they're in a row, there's usually 6 in a row, you have to leave a coin for each one you skip, which means if another player comes along, they can take the faction, maybe it's at the top, it has a couple of coins in it, and you can take that. So you go on, you get the coins, which are the victory points, but you get the faction. I really like that. And the faction have different varying abilities as well as part of your strategy. The trick here is knowing when, and this is really key part of the game, is when to exhaust them and expire them. So what you're doing is you'll be flicking them over, and each token you've got that's on the board, you'll flip them over to the other side to grayed out, and what that'll mean is they'll still stay there, but you can't use them, and then you'll be able to acquire another faction. They're not called faction, I'm just saying that for simplicity reasons, and then you'll be able to go again, placing more and additional factions onto the board. But remember, you still get the points from the ones that have been expired. Not quite expired, but exhausted, and you'll be flicking them over. And that's the key here. When do you do that? I really like this game because it's simple, it's simplistic, it's straightforward, it's easy to get to the table. And the reason why this is on my list, I've actually played this more than any other game we've got in a collection, because during the pandemic and COVID, we actually played this online between myself and Kim, and we played this non-stop, which means we've had well in excess of 50 to 100 plays out of this game. But I still prefer the board form. I like getting this out now and again. It was one of the very first modern games that I had played, so it has that nostalgia feel, which is why I still have it in my collection. So let's now move in to my number 5, and this is Castaways. Now, Castaways is a kind of game where you're stuck in this island, and you're going to cooperatively work together to try and survive and get off the island. and it has varying different types of exit strategies and how you're going to get off the island. Now, it does have this semi-co-op mode, which is absolutely damn right ridiculously stupid, where you're collecting these book tokens, and whoever's got the most, but you need those book tokens when you go on quest, you will be considered the winner if you've got the majority of them, but it's damn right stupid, so we don't play with that, and I would highly recommend you don't. Essentially, this is a co-op game. So you're trying to go out, you're going on these quests, which essentially is a separate board for the mountain, and you'll be going up this mountain and you're collecting and revealing these cards, and you encounter different things. I don't want to give too much away because that is much of the joy in this game. You don't know where you get resources or where you come across any nasties, and you've got this bit of luck element, push your luck. And you've got this little track you go up in terms of rolling a die and pushing your luck to how far you go up this trail. And the further you go, the riskier it is as well. I don't want to give too much away because that is, for me, the most fun part of this game. You'll also be gathering different resources, a bit of worker placement and placing your worker out there, gathering different resources. You need to keep the fire burning because if you don't, there's consequences. And there'll be things coming up in shore as well that'll help you with your quest. And then you have different objectives. So it might be that you have to spell out help in the sand, or it might be you've got a different type of objective, it does something different. This comes with a huge caveat, and that is the rule book, which is utterly horrendous. It's one of the worst books, if not the worst, I've ever read. So I actually created, and there's a couple of helpful guides on Board Game Geek that I recommend going on there. And I've taken one of them and adapted it to my own to create this mini version of a rule book, because there's no way I'm going back through that rule book trying to find essential rules that you need to know. Just keep in mind it is really badly written. But if you can get past there, check the guides out in Board Game Geek. It's worth play this game and rewarding. I really enjoy the theme. That's why I've still got it in my collection. It came out in 2010. It's an old game. And I know a lot of people really enjoy Robinson Crusoe, but I actually prefer this with that stupid semi-co-op mode and just play cooperatively. And I love that adventure and going through up this mountain, revealing these cards. What am I encountering? I need these resources, but I might not get those resources. You've got this push your luck where you get stranded there and you're going to lose one of your people for a turn, which means then you've got limited workers to place out and gathering resources. And I really like that tension of, I need to get this fire burning. Okay, we need these resources to do that. We need food as well because we need to survive. I really like that theme. It really does come through strong. If only they created a decent rule book for it. But I really do enjoy this. And it's one I'll keep in my collection probably forever because I just love the theme of this. I just prefer it over Robinson Crusoe. But that's my preference. And that's why I've got this. I actually took a lot of time getting this over from America, and I was quite fortunate to get a hold of it second hand because you can't pick this up, unfortunately, anymore in any of the retail shops. So you might be fortunate enough to grab it in the second-hand market. Definitely worth just having a look at it and checking out, see if it's for you. So let's now move in to our number 3, and that is number 3. We're on to number 4. My apologies. That is Pandemic. This is a classic, and this wasn't one of the very first, but it was one of the kind of first-ish board games that I played, and I really enjoyed that cooperative moment where you're trying to eradicate the viruses. We'll find a cure for them. Not necessarily eradicate them, but you get to find a cure for all 4 of them, and you'll be cooperatively working together. You've got different abilities, and you've got 4 actions you can carry out on your turn, and you're trying to work together to stop outbreaks. So outbreaks will happen as the pandemic cards are revealed, because at the end of your turn, you draw 2 cards, and they're city cards that will help you with your travel. You need 5 of the same type of cards, same colours, that will then allow you to find a cure for that disease. You'll be working together to obviously get these cubes off, which is actually the viruses, off the board, because if you've got more than 3 that come out in the city, then that causes an outbreak. If you have too many outbreaks, you've lost. If you run out, if you draw a deck, which is shared, a pool for all players, then you lose as well. So it's this bit of tension there and a bit of thinking and working together about, well, we need to go here to cure these, but we also need to get rid of these virus cubes that are coming out into the board, but who's doing what? You're working together. But it does bring in the alpha players. You have to be careful, and I'm a big fan of let the other person really do make their decision. Now, it's a little bit tricky if you've got new players, because you want to try and give them some guidance, but you want to stay away from the alpha player if possible. A real classic. I played this with different groups. I played this with non-gamers, Some have enjoyed it, some haven't because they're not gamers, but some have enjoyed it. And this is a family-friendly game. Recently I played this a ton because I'm playing this with my gaming group, and we played a lot of this because we just liked the theme. We really enjoyed that cooperative moment and that solving that puzzle and that toughness, that difficulty level that this gives. Now you can increase the difficulty from insane. We played this few different expansions as well, which really does elevate the game and takes it to another difficulty level. So let's now move in to my number 3, which is, at last, we've got there. Another classic, thoroughly enjoyed this. One of the best games, I think, that's in my collection and that I still enjoy today. That is Pillars of the Earth. Sometimes you pick this up quite cheap on Amazon deals, and I think it's actually a great deal, even at £20 when it's on Amazon. I definitely highly recommend checking this out because it's a great game. I love this new system. So this essentially has a bit of worker placement. What you're doing, you've got these different cards that you'll be deciding where you place your worker on to then gather those resources that you need and placing out onto the board. But what's great is the turn order changes because you're taking this piece out of the bag, drawing out of the bag, and then you'll be placing it on this semicircle. And then the players whose piece that is, they can decide whether they pay the value for that space or not, which then it goes back into the bag. I really love how that works. I don't go into detail, but I really enjoy how that works. It's unique, still feels fresh today. And essentially you gain these resources. You're then trying to obviously fulfill these cards. What you're doing is at the end of each round, you're building this cathedral, which you're supposed to be thematically contributing to it. You're not. You've got these builder cards, for example. You're building, you're exchanging resources into points. That gives you points. At the end of the round, this cathedral naturally builds itself, which looks more like a human part of the body for the male. But you're then building that. You're then getting as many points as you can. You've got a row of cards. You then place your workers out to activate those cards. You've got different worker cards, builder cards you can collect throughout the duration of the game. They will change from round to round. They get better and better, but they cost more. So you're trying to work out, okay, do I want to wait and spend more on better workers later on, or do I want to get some now to start getting a bit of an engine going? I really like that, and I love how the board resolves in order. So for example, when you place your worker out on the board, it's not your worker, it's a little piece, and then you place it out on the board and it will resolve in numbered order. So it's from, I can remember, from 1 all the way through to 13, well 14, whichever number it goes to. And so you can work out, okay, I need money and I need these resources for this. This is going to trigger before this, so then I can get this before I get that. I really like how that works. Really fascinating stuff. Okay, maybe I've not explained it as well as I could have. I highly recommend Pillars of the Earth. It's a classic. You can still get a hold of it. Check it out. Let's now move into my number 2. And this I really enjoy. I remember when I first played this, I just fell in love with it. It's Aliens Frontiers. So Alien Frontier is a kind of dice placement game. So you roll these die, a lot of the dice, and then you're going to be placing them into these different spots on the board. You're trying to terraform Mars by placing these cool little I suppose, little worlds that you've created. You'll be placing them out, terraforming the planet. It gives you a little bonus tile you can use. It gives you an ability. There are these tech cards that you can collect that give you different bonuses. Some manipulate the dice, for example. I really like this game. And I'm usually not a fan of luck, but I just love this game. So your dice are essentially your ships, and you'll be placing them out in the different spaces, do something slightly different. So some might, for example, you need 3 numbers of the same. Some might you need ascending numbers in order to get the resources. I really like how that works. You can also get more ships, i.e. your dice, as well. And I really like as well, there's this track where you can place any number, and you can go up this track, which gradually allows you to place your terraform piece onto Mars. And it's a bit of area control there, because whoever's got the majority, each one gives you points, but whoever's got the majority gets that bonus tile for that region on the map that gives you a little bonus. Really like this game. Family friendly. I love how it looks. This is one of the very first, if not the very first, on Kickstarter. It really did revolutionise that for board games. Thoroughly enjoy it. Highly recommend it. Alien Frontier. And it doesn't really matter which version you get. So you can get any edition. They're all pretty much the same in terms of how they work, and I highly recommend getting the expansion for it. It does elevate the game. Let's now move in to my number 1. This is my favourite out of this, and this is Lords of Waterdeep. I love this game. Now the theme, D&D, is pretty much non-existent, so don't worry about that, but essentially you'll be going out in quests. It's worker placement. You place your worker out, you gather not resources, but you gather more people to go out, not essentially people, but wizards, etc., to go out on these quests. You've got these quest cards and you'll be able to fulfill them. It gives you points. You can also get buildings, which then can be shared. So these tiles you place out on the board, that you own them, therefore you can use them, but your opponent can use them, but if they do, they give you a bonus. I really like that. You've got intrigue cards that you'll be able to use. Some give you a benefit and some affect other players. So I really like how this is streamlined and just something elegant about this game. It just works so well. It's so smooth and it just makes you want to keep coming back. It's not complicated. It's not deep at all. It's certainly family weight, but I really, really find this engrossing. And while the theme really isn't that strong, the Dungeons and Dragons theme is pretty much non-existent, I just love the simplicity of this and what it does. An expansion doesn't add too much, but it gives you more better stuff. Fantastic. Highly recommend this. I absolutely adore this game. I could play this 100 times and never get bored of it. That's Laws of Waterdeep, and you can still get it today. I'd highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already done so. That now brings us to the end, the top 6 classic board games that we still own and play today. Love these games, highly recommend them all. Yes, some of them are light, some of them are family weight. Yes, some of them do not have any complexities to them, or depthness to them. Yes, but they are still great. And board games back in the day, for me, were much less convoluted and much more streamlined than we do with board games today. Now, of course, some great board games come out today, but sometimes they overdo it at times for me, and I just want something straightforward and does exactly what it says on the bloody box. And that's why I've got these classic board games. If only the rule book in Castaways was much better, because it's like dog shit. But never mind that. These are fantastic games. I'd highly recommend you check them out. Now, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Yes, you lazy buggers who keep clicking on my videos. And don't subscribe and give our videos a thumbs up. It really does help the videos get elevated. Now, we will cover some of these games in other different types of videos as we go through different types of top 6s and top 10. So, if you want to check those out, well, you're going to have to subscribe to the channel, aren't you? Yes. Well, that brings us to the end. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, take care.